Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, Dragons! They be linkin'. Today we're talking about Dragon Link. Yes, the deck that was previously the best prior to Pearly, which was a while ago. But this deck is still very good, and the fact that a lot of people are sleeping on it because it loses to Kashtira is a bit sad. So let's quickly go over the deck list that I am choosing to run, at least as of right now, and let's show you how well it works. So first and foremost, we are playing lots of dragons, but more importantly, lots of hand traps. Starting off with 1 Veiler and 2 Imperm. This should just be 3 Imperm. Just play 3 Imperm. However, the 1 effect Veiler has come up a couple of times because of the fact that it is a light, and just it being a monster. But yeah, it's nice. Honestly, Effect Veiler is probably pretty good as well, but Imperm's just infinitely better because it doesn't play into Called By. Next up, we're playing Triple Droll and Lockbird. We're main decking this because Pearly, and because it's just a good card in general. We're playing Triple Maxi, the 2 Gamma, as well as the 1 Driver, and then of course 3 Ash Blossom. And that's it. Lots of hand traps, as you can tell, and the reason for this is because hand traps are pretty good right now. Sure, we could be playing board breakers and stuff like that, but I do think that hand traps are very strong, specifically in Dragon Link. I don't think things like Triple Tack are nearly as valuable, so there's that. Yeah, that's basically it. Moving on to the dragons, we are playing 4 rockets. That is Rocket Synchron, 2 Rocket Tracers, and 1 Rocket Recharger, which is just pretty decent overall. We're then playing 1 apiece of Wyverburster and Collapse Serpent as our baby dragon targets for Chaos Space, which is pretty nice. And then of course, triple Seyfert. Seyfert is just the best dragon. Being able to search out another dragon, most notably these 2, is very, very strong, while also putting itself into the graveyard for the Collapse Serpent, which is, again, very strong. Then we're playing 1 apiece of Magnemite and Druid Swarm, and 2 Saronir, as well as 2 Bestial Lubellion. And then we are playing 1 Levianeer to, do Levianeer stuff, and 1 Absoraptor. As for our spells and traps, we're playing 3 Chaos Space, because it's basically just either of these guys, and it also puts back a card, and it also draws you a card. It's very strong. 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Boot Sector Launch. These are basically bricks, because most of the time you're going into things like Striker Dragon and Romulus off of your dragons in order to search out these cards. Anyway, we're playing 1 Regained as well as 1 Beast with the Bestial Lubellion because they are very strong cards. And then, of course, 3 Quick Launch to summon out our Rocket Tracer. We're playing 42 cards because, honestly, this deck is one of the few decks that can actually play over 40 very well. And honestly, it's probably better most of the time because there are kind of just hard bricks in the deck. But I didn't want to play like a 60 card list because there's not really that many cards for you to play. Or more specifically, I think that it just ends up bricking you more. Moving on to the extra deck, we are playing Borreload Savage Dragon, Chaos Ruler, the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, Baron DeFleur, and Chaos Angel as our synchros. All of these are pretty easy to summon, especially Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is almost always live, whether that's actually just synchro summoning it with the Rocket Tracer, or actually just like, a Collapse Serpent or a Wyverburster or something like that, as well as one of your Bestials. There's that. Then we have one Pisty. We have 2 Striker Dragon, because Striker Dragon just happens to be very nice. Yeah, especially paired with Pisty. We have 1 Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, which is very good as well. It's part of your end board. It's part of your combo. It's just a good card overall. And it's Nibiru Insurance. Then we have 1 Romulus to search out the Dragon Ravine and potentially for some other things. Like, for example, if you want to, you can special summon something like a Rocket Tracer or a Bestial or something along those lines. Yeah, you can summon a Bestial. In order to then go into something like a Baron or a Chaos Angel. We have 1 IP Masquerena to go into Unicorn. We have the 1 Dark to potentially steal to make other Link monsters more effectively, 1 Triple Burst, and then of course 1 Borreland. And that's it for the list. Let's hop into the deck and show you how this deck performed. The replays and show you how this deck performed. Alright, so here we are going second, and that's a Gamma and a Maxi. Now this is one reason to play this version of the deck, and it's because you basically just always draw hand traps, which is very nice. We're going to wait on the Maxi just in case we need to Gamma our opponent, and out comes the I guess a mirror match, which is pretty interesting. But out comes Magnemite. They don't have a response? Cool. Maxi resolves. Fantastic. I'm wondering if I should activate my Gamma here. I decided not to. They get the search for the Baldrake, and I'm like, that's fine. I would imagine they grab a Bestial but we have 2 Bestials of our own, so I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm going to normal summon the Rocket Synchron and then special summon out the Absolouter, which we ended up drawing off of the Maxi, to go into Chaos Ruler. We're going to activate the Chaos Ruler, we're going to activate the Absolouter, and one of the funniest things ever happens. This Absolouter is the most loved Absolouter ever. Baldrake activates, targeting the Absolouter. Saronir activates, targeting the Absolouter. Then they activate their Druid Swarm, and then I activate my Druid Swarm, all targeting that one Absolouter. Now, Absolouter is just going to search a card anyway, no matter what. But, you know, that happened. 4 Bestials. 4 Bestials on that one card. Hilarious. That's all. I just wanted to show you that one, basically, because my opponent more or less concedes, like, right here. We end up revealing a Collapse Servant as well as a Magnemite because I'm just better. And, yeah, my opponent concedes. Maxi's a cool card. Not gonna lie. It's fantastic. Good game. Alright, here we are with a driver in hand. You know, sometimes you just draw a driver. I'm going to start off here with the Chaos Space to bait out something like an Ash Blossom. They decide not to activate the Ash Blossom. I'm going to go for the Lubellion. Again, just trying to, like, bait something out. And then I'll go for it. I go for the Magma here. We're going to go and grab up a monster. Go for it, the Bestial Lubellion. And, sorry. Go for the Bestial Lubellion, activate the Branded Regained, then go for the Safert, sending to the graveyard, which, yes, you can. Sending to the graveyard the Lubellion to search out Levianeer. I want to loop a card out of their hand, so I'm going to try and get 3 darks into my grave. But yeah, we're going to cycle a card, and I end up drawing into Droll and Lockbird, which is pretty good. And now we go for the Striker Dragon. Now, my opponent is playing a 60-card list, so keep that in mind. So we're going to go Striker Dragon as Chainlink 2, because honestly, I wanted the Collapse Serpent to resolve more so. So we end up drawing, or grabbing the Boot Sector Launch as well as the Wyvern Burster. We're then going to link those off into the Romulus, and then we're going to activate the Romulus effect and search out the Dragon Ravine. I'm going to activate the Dragon Ravine, pitching the Gamma, and then sending the Absolouter. Absolouter will search out the Tracer, and then we can go and special summon out our Levianeer, banishing 3 darks in order to rip a card out of my opponent's hand, and put them on less cards in hand, which is pretty cool. We're going to go for the Boot Sector Launch. We're going to special summon out the Rocket Tracer at this point, and then go into Seals. Now, why are we going Seals? Well, because I basically still have the ability to make a Borderland as well as Seals, which is pretty good. We're going to put back as well our Levianeer and end up drawing into an Ash Blossom. 2 hand traps. You gotta love it. We're going to go for the Pisty here, then we're going to go for the Rocket Tracer. We're going to pop a card, and then we're going to link off into a Striker Dragon. This Striker Dragon will then be, the arrow for the Striker Dragon will then allow us to use the Pisty effect in order to special summon out a Tuner to go for, or the Tracer, more specifically, to go for Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler reveals the Druid Swarm and a bunch of other hand traps that we are not going to grab, and a Saronir. Obviously, I'm going to grab the Druid Swarm here because the Saronir is still going to send to the graveyard, so might as well do that. We send the Lubellion, go for the what's-his-face, and then go Triple Burst in order to get the Chaos Ruler into the grave. Now we can go and activate the Chaos Ruler, bring it back, and then link off all of those materials except for the Hieratic Seals in order to go into the Borderland. Now, one thing that I should absolutely tell you to keep in mind when playing this deck, you gotta make sure that Hieratic Seals Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is specifically in the extra monster, in the extra monster zone. Because if it's not, it doesn't have the ability to activate its effect. I've seen a lot of newer Dragon Link players make that mistake. Do not do that. If you're making this, you have to put it into the extra monster zone. We're going to add back the Lubellion off of Safert, as well as the Druid Swarm off of the Magnemite. So now we have Druid Swarm as well, which is pretty nice. We're going to go and special summon the Magnemite here off of Regained, because my opponent special summoned a monster. And out comes Dictator of D, sending Blue Eyes White Dragon. I'm immediately going to deal with that. I just don't want to deal with something like a Jet Dragon hitting the field. So I'm just like, nah, just none of that. And we're going to special summon out the Druis here. I'm also going to put back the Blue Eyes White Dragon so that we can draw an additional card. My opponent is going to go for the Ecclesia. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I have the negate for something like a Moye. And then it was Irish Swordsoul. And I go, huh? So, yeah, that's interesting. I draw Maxi. So, sometimes you just draw Maxi. My opponent reveals 3 Blue Eyes cards and then sets a card. I do Droll them here. Yes, I know that, like, I'm Maxing and then activating Droll means that I'm not getting anything. But, like, honestly, I'd rather them not search anything then get the additional draws. That feels much better for me. I end up negating during the end phase with the Borderland to bring back the Rocket Tracer so that this card isn't doing anything. I then just immediately go into the Baron. Like, yeah, of course I'm making Baron here. I have a level 4 and a level 6. Of course I'm doing that. I'm going to send the Dictator to the graveyard. Reason being, I don't know, because I can. I could have sent the Iris, but the Iris activates its effect, and I'm like, cool, you're negated, it's whatever. They're also going to special summon Blue Eyes from their hand, which they had in 60. In 60, they drew a Blue Eyes and Dictator of D, which is very funny. Anyway, Druid Swarm sends to the graveyard. We go for the regains to special summon back at the Saronir, because they special summon. And then I'm just going to pop the back row and delete their field, and the game is over. So, cool. I don't know what that was. I wish I could show you the deck list, because that was a very interesting deck. Good game. Alright, once again, going first. And that's Gamma in our hand again. So I'm going to actually start out here with the Safert. I'm going to normal summon it to grab the Collapse Serpent. Then we're going to activate the Chaos Space. I'm like, cool, you're not going to play into the Gamma. Whatever, we'll pitch the Gamma. We'll special summon out the Collapse Serpent here. Go Striker Dragon. Chainlink 1, Collapse Serpent. Chainlink 2, Striker. Now I know what you're saying. Why are we doing it in this order? Because the Collapse Serpent is much more valuable. Being able to get the Collapse Serpent, which can then be, the guaranteed Wyver Burster, is way more valuable than getting the Striker Dragon to grab Boot Sector Launch. Yes, Boot Sector Launch oftentimes allows you to go into your Tracer plays and stuff like that. Just getting that additional body onto your side of the field to potentially go for something like a Seals if you need to is much more valuable. So, honestly, yeah, we're just guaranteeing that we get that additional summon. So we're going to go for the Wyver Burster, go for the Chaos Space, putting it back. Or putting back the Collapse Serpent, and we end up drawing into Druid Swarm, which is pretty nice. I go for the Seals here because I'm like, okay, I have a very good hand, and I can basically do whatever I want because I hard drew the Ravine, so there's no point in going for Romulus. So we're going to go for the Ravine here, pitching the Absorrouter. Absorrouter searches out the Rocket Tracer, then we're going to special summon out the Levineer. Levineer is going to cycle a card, and I actually go for the Druid Swarm here, and the reason for this is because, well, you'll see in a second. So we special summon out the Rocket Tracer. I actually activate the Rocket Tracer here, summoning out the Recharger, and I know I could have gone into like Baron or something like that, but you'll see. Here we make the Pisty, as well as the second Striker Dragon, and we are going to go for the Pisty effect of bringing back the Tracer, and then link all of that off into Borderland. So yeah, that's kind of why we do that the way that we do, and then add back the Levianeer. Now, notably, I can actually still summon the Levianeer again. The summoning condition is not a once per turn. You can summon this Levianeer as many times as you possibly can, as long as you have the materials in the grave, but you can only activate the effect of it once per turn. So I can't hand loop them again, but I do have the ability to summon it again, which means that I can go for the Borderland, negating its effect to bring back another monster to go into IP Masquerena. I keep the Imperm in hand for a potential Unicorn play. Maybe I should have set this, maybe I shouldn't have, but I didn't really have anything else to summon off of it other than the Unicorn, so I was like, I'm going to keep the card in hand for a potential Unicorn play, because I can go like Hieratic Seal, bounce a card, special summon a guy, and then go for the IP Masquerena to shuffle away a card my opponent controls. So there's that. My opponent goes to the draw phase, goes to main phase 1, and activates Nadir Servant. Now, I actually said the one card that does beat this is Dark Ruler, and as soon as that spell came down, I went, and then it was Nadir Servant, and it was fine. Now, they do get to go for the Entis. They're going to go and pop my Hieratic Seal, and I go, okay, fine, goodbye, that's fine, whatever. At the very least, I get the Magnemite. And out comes Fenris. I'm like, sure, that's fine. Dogmatika Maximus does come down, and I'm like, there's no way I'm letting this resolve, and the reason for this is because no matter what happens, they get way too much advantage, and they rip cards out of my extra deck, which I do need. So I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of the card that I have to negate, and I'm really wishing that I had this Infip on my field, but alas. So we're going to end up negating here and just special summon out the Rocket Tracer. My opponent then decides to try and banish the Rocket Tracer, which I will not allow, and we'll just pop to go into the Rocket Synchron. They're going to then, they then tribute summoned their Ogre. I don't know what's in their hand, but dear Lanta, it must be bad right now. Cool. Ogre effect activate, they're going to reveal a whole bunch of cards, and they obviously banish the Bestial Lubellion. It doesn't really matter what else is revealed. That's the one they banish. So yeah, they're going to then walk into our Magnemite. I don't know why they decided the Magnemite instead of the Rocket Striker, or the Rocket Synchron, but that's fine. We also, during the end phase, since we did activate the Magnemite, grab up the Safert, which is really cool. In the draw phase, I just decided to go for the Quick Launch here. They're going to activate their preparations, and I'm like, that's fine. And then they reveal it was Skill Drain in their hand. Skill Drain was the other card in their hand. That doesn't matter, trust. So we're going to go for the Borland, we're going to special summon back one of our monsters, as well as since we already are getting a tuner off of the quick launch, because the only thing in our deck is the Rocket Tracer, I decided to grab the Recharger. Now, they can't do anything. No one can really do anything. But I do go for the Safer here into the Chaos Ruler. And the reason that I go for the Safer into the grave is so that I can add back the Levianeer. You'll see why. I activate the Chaos Ruler because it's funny. Then we're going to go for the Safer in order to grab back the Levianeer. And then we are going to Synchro off into the slightly higher attack point Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. But the main reason to do this, again, is to get the Chaos Ruler into the grave so that you can bring it back. So now you have an additional body. And I did need every single one of these 3,000 attack point monsters in order to do this. So special summon out the Levianeer, attack in for well over lethal, but I still needed that last dragon. I obviously attack with the Recharger because skill drain, ha ha ha. Alright, and here we are once again going second with 2 hand traps. Those are 2 pretty good hand traps if you ask me, and okay, what's happening? Well, let's just see. So obviously I'm going to, because I have the Gamma, play around the Gamma, or like try and see if they have anything here with said Gamma. So yeah, that's why we're going in the way that we are. So I go for the Bestial Lubellion to grab up our Magnamut. I don't activate it, but then we go for the Chaos Space, pitching the Rocket Tracer, which seems kind of interesting, but because we already have the Safer, because we have the Wyver Burster, because I wanted to search out the Wyver Burster, we go for that. We're going to go for the Safer, pitching self to grab up the Rocket Tracer, and then we're going to go for the Magnamut. Again, just trying to like get as many interactions out of my opponent. They decided to not do anything, so okay. We go for the Bestial Lubellion, activate its effect, and out comes Shade Brigadine, which is weird, but okay. I guess it does make sense because, you know, Regained is coming, and that would have given me the free special summon of the Magnamut, but alas, we just banish it and cycle it back for a quick launch, which is a really good draw. We're gonna go for the Striker Dragon, Chainlink 1, Wyver Burster, Chainlink 2, Striker Dragon, and here's where they Ash, and I go, huh? No shot, we held Ash this entire time. Instead of ashing things like Chaos Space, the Lubellion, or what have you. So it seems kind of odd to ash the Striker Dragon, especially since this is Chainlink 2, and I'm Chainlink 1, the Wyver Burster. So, I don't know. Seems kind of odd. But I guess it played around Gamma. Maybe that was what they were playing around, which seems, I guess, fair. But yeah, we're going to grab the Collapse Serpent, and they're like, cool, whatever, it doesn't matter. Collapse Serpent, we're going to cycle back the Wyver Burster so that when the Collapse Serpent goes to the grave, you can also search out there. I draw a second Ash, which is funny at the very least. And out comes Romulus. We're going to go and activate the Romulus effect, to which now my opponent will go for the will banish the Collapse Serpent with Called By. This is one of the worst Called Bys I've ever seen, and it is baffling because there were so many options that just would have stopped a search or stopped something like that. Now granted, this does stop a search. I don't get the Wyver Burster, but Wyver Burster and Collapse Serpent can only be special summoned once per turn, so do keep that in mind. Do not Called By the Collapse Serpent unless you're doing it on the first activation of either Wyver Burster or Collapse Serpent. Just when it activates in the grave the first time, that's when you should have Called By'd it. I don't know why they decided to do this the way that they did, but they did. They should have hit Safer or Lubellion with this. That's pretty obvious. So the fact that they didn't is weird. We're going to grab the Ravine, and at this point the game is basically over, even no matter what they do. We got this. So we're going to go for the Absorautor. We're going to grab up the Rocket Recharger. This is a mistake because I have the quick launch. I should have just not searched anything. I shouldn't have sent the Absorautor. I should have sent Saronir to send, I don't know, a Bestial Lubellion or something like that. It doesn't really matter. But it's fine. I go for the Pisty here, and just kidding, I was wrong. They have Nibiru. Sure, I guess. They also chained here to my Romulus activation, by the way. So out comes the Rocket Tracer, which is very funny. So now that's just on my field. It's not going to do anything, but it's there. I also go for the Safer to bring back the Lubellion, and I grab the Druisworm. And I'm like, this should be fine. They have one card in hand. I have Druisworm, I have Ash Blossom, and I have Regained. There's, like, no world in which this does anything here from my opponent. And that's exactly what happens. They just proceed to battle, walk over my guy, and go to the end phase. I activate my Druisworm, and they just concede. I mean, a lot of hand traps, I guess. Good game. Alright, we're back with the deck, and in all honesty, I definitely could have played around with that Nibiru. Instead of going for Romulus, I could have gone for the Hieratic Seals, which would have allowed me to actually continue playing through the Nibiru if I did suspect that Nibiru was there. But honestly, with how well that opponent was playing, which was not very, I didn't really suspect anything, and I was just like, I don't know what you could possibly have that I should be worried about, because you called Bud probably the worst target, and also Ashed at a really weird time. Yeah, I did play around Gamma, kinda, but it also wasn't very good, still, so, who knows. Anyway, doesn't really matter, because, yeah, the deck is still pretty good. Now, is this the best version? I don't know. Maybe hand traps aren't the way to go. Maybe you don't play as many hand traps. Maybe you play a 60-card list. Maybe you don't. Honestly, though, I do think that cutting down to a 40 or 42 card list is probably the way to go, just because I don't think that there are enough good mills in this deck, or more specifically, I don't think it's as consistent as people are letting it on to be when it comes to a 60 card list. Sure, you can do like 1-card combos with things like the normal summon of the Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, or this guy, Darkness Metal Dragon, and all of that stuff. The guy that searches this and what have you, you go from there. But even with that, it's much better to actually just play like lower counts so that you can see things like the Bestials, so that you are more likely to see Seifert, which is very nice, and more specifically, so that Chaos Ruler has an easier time finding good targets. Like being able to actually see Levianeer is very nice, because this card is crazy, but you don't really want to see it too often, because it is a brick if you don't see other cards on top of it. But yeah, playing it at 1 is pretty standard. In a 60 card list, you're almost never going to see this unless you send it to the graveyard after having already gone for like a Seifert, so that you can add it back off of Seifert. So there's that. All things considered, though, I do like playing a lot of the hand traps. I think Droll wasn't the best for me, but that was mostly due to like me not playing against like Pearly and Kashtira as much. So I do think that this is definitely going to be better against those decks in particular. However, not as much against like Kashtira. It'll still be pretty decent against Kashtira, but not as much. As for the list, I mean, the deck is still good. I think this is one of the decks that is very slept on. I think Kashtira isn't as dominant as a lot of people are making it out to be, so things like Tyr, things like a Dragon Link, things that would stereotypically lose to a Rise Heart is still absolutely going to be able to play through Kashtira, and especially if it ends up going first, is going to be able to just prevent Kashtira from playing the game. So there's that. All things considered, though, fun deck. I like it. That's going to be it. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, I like it very much. I appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.